Hi everyone, welcome to Lesson 6, Quiz 1 Explanation. This is based on the two passages in the textbook and 4 questions for each. The passages are quite short, but the questions are a little bit difficult to answer. Let's have a look together. Question 1. What does Frost mean when he talks about coming close to poetry? Well, the first thing to do is to find where does he say come close to poetry. This is quoted from the text. We see that with the quotation marks, so it must be somewhere in the text. And it's in the very first sentence. He says there are 2 ways of coming close to poetry. What does he mean? Does he mean to be near great poets, lead a poetic life, understand poetry, or translate poetry? Well, one way is by writing poetry. The other way to come close to poetry is in the reading of it, not as linguistics, so not translating it, not looking at the language that is used, not in history, not as anything but poetry. So he wants people to understand the feeling, the emotion. He wants people to kind of lose their mind as they wander around the images that the poet is creating. He doesn't talk about them being physically near, and it's not about their lifestyle. Writing poetry, reading poetry is not about lifestyle, it's about understanding poetry. So the correct answer is C. Second question, on the basis of this excerpt, which of the following best describes what Frost thinks about teaching and understanding poetry? Both are inexact and unscientific. There's not a clear right and wrong, for example. Both require historical knowledge, but it says not as history. So he's not going to be thinking about historical knowledge, take away B. Both benefit from religious faith. Both are subjects for linguistics. Well, not as linguistics. He doesn't want to look at poetry as linguistics. Linguistics is the study of language. How are nouns and verbs used? What is the length of the line? How are adjectives placed next to different types of nouns? It's looking at the technical way that language is used. And he's not looking at it technically. He wants to know the feeling of the poetry. No, he says that he only wants people to write poetry if they want to write poetry. He never encourages anybody to write poetry that does not want to write it. And he also says, how do I know whether a man has come close to Keats in reading Keats? Come close to Keats. What does he mean? He means to understand. It is hard for me to know. I have lived with some boys a whole year over some of the poets, and I have not felt sure whether they have come near to what it was all about. Understand the meaning, understand the feeling. Sometimes one remark's told me. One remark was their mark for the whole year. It had to be. It was all I got that told me what I wanted to know, and that is enough. If the right remark, if it came close enough. Now, he's saying that just one sentence, one opinion might show that somebody really understands the poetry. It's not exact though. That's why it's difficult. That's why he can live with somebody for a whole year and not know if they understand or not. It's not like a scientific equation where you get the right answer or the wrong answer. It's clear to know if people understand science and mathematics. It's not clear if people understand the meaning of poetry, what the poet was feeling, for example. So they are inexact and unscientific. Answer A is the best idea. The idea of religious faith is not really given in this text. The other two are clearly false. Do remember that skill of true, false, and not given. It can be really useful when you're going through these types of questions. Question number 3. Which of the following statements best sums up Frost's ideas about grading? Well, grading was what we just read. One remark was their mark for the whole year. It had to be. Now, A student who doesn't wish to write poetry will not receive a good mark. No, he says there are two ways. One way is by writing, and I only want people to write if they want to write. But the other way to come close to poetry is by reading it. Some people might choose to write poetry for themselves. Other people might choose to read it. He gives them freedom. So A is not correct. A student must be exact in his or her understanding of a poem. Well, being exact is not correct. They can live with a whole year and he does not know for sure if they really understand it. One opinion, one remark might be it. Sometimes they might have 20 foolish remarks, but one good one in the year, and the whole mark for the year would depend on that good remark. So if they had one good thing that they said during the year, this teacher would give them a good grade. This is not exact. This is not like right and wrong answers. This is not mathematics and science, for example. So B is not correct. And then C, grading a student's understanding of a poem is difficult and circumstantial. Circumstantial means depends on the situation or the circumstances. It comes from the word circumstance, a specific individual situation. Well, it is difficult. It's difficult because he can live with them for a whole year and still not be sure if they understand what the poetry was all about. So one remark was their mark for the whole year. One good mark sometimes would give them their whole grade for the year. Grading students' understanding of poetry was very difficult. Although it might take a whole year, that's not the best summary. The best summary is about one remark, one opinion, one judgment, one insightful thing that the student has said that demonstrates they really understand. It's not about the time that is taken, it's about the understanding of the student. So C is the better answer. Last question looks at the style. A formal style is written in the third person. The first person is I, the second person is you, the third person is he, she, or it. So when we're writing academic essays, we normally say it is the best, he or she is the best, it is clear that. We don't say I think, we say it is clear. That's formal writing. Here, this author is talking in the first person. I don't necessarily, I only want. So this shows that it is not formal language. So we can take away answer A. Technical and scientific uses jargon. It uses technical words to describe different things. So for example, in poetry, we might talk about an iambic pentameter that would describe the pattern of the syllables that is used. However, here, we're not talking like that. We don't talk about the juxtaposition, for example. Juxtaposition would mean what things are put next to each other. There's no technical vocabulary used to describe the poetry. So it's not technical and scientific. So is it dry? Dry means serious, but we have dry here and we have serious here. Dry and serious mean almost the same. Complex means high level, complicated. Conversational means like having a conversation. When we're using that personal pronoun I, that's quite conversational. Also, we can see the contractions. Things like don't. Don't is how we speak normally. So this is a good example of a conversational piece. The correct answer is D. It's serious. He's talking about his idea of teaching, but it's conversational. So on to the next passage, question 5. What is the speaker in this excerpt appealing to South Africans to do? A, go to the polls and vote. So is it about going to vote? B, step up, increase their efforts to end the apartheid. The apartheid was the discrimination between black and white people in South Africa. C, be patient, with the apartheid regime? Wait for the white people to give black people their rights? Or D, petition the international community, ask international countries to help them? Let's look at the first paragraph. We have waited too long for our freedom. We can no longer wait. So that's not the idea of being patient. That says we cannot wait anymore. Now is the time to intensify the struggle on all fronts. Intensify means to make stronger, to work harder, to step up. So answer B looks like it would be a good answer. To relax our efforts now would be a mistake which generations to come would not be able to forgive. The sight of freedom is looming on the horizon. Everybody should redouble their efforts to work harder again. It is only through mass action that our victory can be assured. It is not through voting, it is through mass action. Protests, campaigns, speeches, boycotting different companies. All of these are examples of mass action that many people can take together. So answer B is the best answer. Question 6. Which of the following phrases is closest to the meaning of freedom looming on the horizon? Where is that phrase? Well, we've just read it. Freedom looming on the horizon. The horizon is this area here. The horizon is where the land meets the sky. It's usually in the distance, but it would be in view. So D might be a good answer. Inevitable means we cannot stop it. Sure, it does talk about freedom being irreversible. It does talk about it coming. But that's not the meaning here. Freedom being on the horizon means because we can see it, because it is coming closer, we should try harder to make our victory sure. Horizon is like the dawn of a new day. When we can see the horizon, the sunshine is up. We don't see the horizon at night time because there's no light, but that's not the correct answer. We're not literally talking about day and night or land and sky. There's a symbolic meaning. So on the horizon means in view, but quite far away still. Just out of reach would also be a possible answer. But when we think about the horizon is something that we can see in the distance. We don't touch the horizon. It's about something that we can see. So viewing is a better answer than touching. But A and D are very similar. Question number 7. What is the main effect of the speaker's use of the word we? It puts him on the level of the common people. It means he is the same as everybody else. Or it emphasizes the need to work together. Or it takes the focus off of him. Or it demonstrates the selflessness of the speaker. Selflessness means care about other people more than yourself. Well, let's have a look. We have waited too long for freedom. We can wait no longer. Our effort, we're doing this together. We redouble our efforts. Our victory. We call. So this is about doing things together. It's about all of them being united. It's about working together. There's nothing here about a difference between the people and the leader, so it's not answer A. There's nothing about taking the focus off of the leader. The focus throughout is about doing things together, calling together on the international community, for example, and marching together for freedom. Together, not allowing fear to stop them. And it is for the whole population. Remember, the apartheid is about black and white people. A lot of Europeans colonized South Africa and they took all the positions of power. They took the best land. There was a lot of discrimination between black and white people, just like in America. And so this is about the black people wanting equality, wanting their rights. This is the whole of the ethnic population rising up to demand equality. It's not about the leader, it's about the whole ethnic group together, wanting an end to discrimination. So which of the following describes the tone of the speech? Apologetic means you are sorry for something. Snobby is when you look down. You think your position is higher. You are speaking to people that are lower than you. Defiant means you refuse to give up. Impassioned means you are speaking from your heart. You have a lot of emotion. We have waited too long for our freedom. We can no longer wait. This is quite emotional. When we're speaking about freedom, we're talking about our basic rights. Our victory can be assured. This is very confident. Our march to freedom is irreversible. We must not let fear stand in our way. There's nothing about being sorry. It's not we are sorry that we want our freedom. This is we demand our freedom. This is something from the heart. There's nothing also about looking down. He's not speaking as a leader, speaking down to people that are lower than him. They are together. Now, defiant means not give up. Impassioned means speaking from the heart. Well, I think because he talks about the victory can be assured, that is quite positive. It's not about giving up, it's about close to victory. Also, the idea about freedom being on the horizon, being in view, that again is quite positive, that they are almost victorious. Defiant would be they are close to giving up. They have lost many things, but they refuse to surrender. This is not about refusing to surrender or refusing to give up. This is about being passionate, being sure that they are going to get what they want, that they are going to get their freedom, which is irreversible. So the best answer would be it is impassioned. Well, that's the end of this quiz. There's another one up on Moodle. I know these quizzes are quite hard, but the more practice that we do on texts from a variety of different sources, the better you're going to be in the exam. And the more practice we do in time conditions, the quicker you are going to get at reading. So let's keep going together and try and improve our reading speed and our range of vocabulary that we recognize. Oslasai.